With me, sex crimes prosecutor Stacey Honowitz. Stacey, a lot to talk about here. Certainly shocking that only 5 states have laws like the one Danielle is pursuing. Is this an oversight? It seems like in every state that it should be a given. There are the states, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Utah. Do you see the other states following suit?
Yeah, I have to tell you something. It is really hard for people to believe, and we as sex crimes prosecutors haven't been up against this, but we don't have it down here in Florida. The problem is the sexual offender statutes and the sexual predator statutes speak specifically to where sex offenders can and cannot go. Near a playground, near a daycare center. You know, they have to stay within a certain amount of feet. But they never address the issue if a sex offender can live near the victim. And that's what we're faced with now. So I applaud her. I think what she's doing is fabulous. And that's how the law changes. You know, down here we've had some issues with the sex offender registration. We had the Jessica Lunsford case. It was a big national case. Her dad went. He changed the law. Now they have to wear a electronic monitor. So what she's doing right now is the right thing. Get it out there. Let people know that there are no laws on the books in many states that talk about living next to the person or near the person that you victimize. It is a double victimization. That's exactly what it is.
And Danielle's father is saying, look, my daughter didn't want to come out there and say this is what happened to me when I was just 7 years old, but she had to. She had no other choice. She went on Facebook, put it all out there to help other women and men that are abused. And her dad also says, look, I've been suppressing a lot of rage that I have. Let's listen to him. We'll talk about it.
Is my daughter feeling her past come back to haunt her, but a lot of years of rage and anger that I've kept under my collar is sitting right outside my door.
So, Stacey, that's a risk, too, with the dad having to look at this guy who hurt his child.
Look, everything in this case just stinks. It really does. I mean, that's the bottom line. People might say, well, why doesn't she get a restraining order? That restraining order keeps him from making contact with her, saying hello, a gesture. But the idea of having to even look at this individual is enough for these victims to be traumatized. So she has to go forward. I mean, the idea that she has to allow people to know, and that's what she's doing. She's going on Facebook, social media. She's going on these national shows. She wants people to know, listen, I'm not going to go through this again, and nobody else should have to. It's not just me. It's my family that's affected. It's many people that are affected by something like this. I'm sure people read this and absolutely couldn't believe that this was going on, and it does.
And there are those, though, who say, look, towards the sex offender, even sex offenders themselves, that I've served my time, I paid the price, it shouldn't be against me, then I have nowhere else to live. Ashley Banfield spoke to one last night. Here's their back and forth.
When a person serves his time, that should be the end of it. I don't believe in these laws, these ex post facto laws that punish people after the fact. It's very difficult for a person to come back into society and be a productive member of society when everybody is doing everything they can to pass more laws to make it to near impossible for a person to be able to do anything for themselves.
The victims also suffer greatly throughout their entire lives. They have huge percentages of suicide. They are often homeless themselves. They become repeated rape victims themselves. They are often homeless. They are often jobless. And many of them suffer from depression for the very rest of their lives. And this was not their choice. They didn't choose to be the victims, but the offender, that man chose to offend. So who the hell do you support here?
Well, you know what? You bring me on a show like this, and you bring a person on who is a lot more educated on this subject than you are, and so you don't want to, you want to sit there and tell me about recidivism rates. There are dozens of studies that have shown that the consistency rates are well below 10%. Dozens of them, not just one. I don't cherry pick the one that I think.
And Mr. Logue, to suggest that you know more about this than I do because you molested an 11-year-old in your life is ridiculous.
And now we go into the ad hominem. Why don't we get back to the subject at hand?
No, that's not ad hominem. You did it.
Well,
you molested an 11-year-old.
Well, you want to make? I'm not here to make this about me. You brought me on the show to talk about this subject, not about me.
And so you came on the show, and you need to answer for your opinion.
I have served my time. I have served my time. And I don't have to answer to you or to anybody else except to the person that I've wronged and the state. And I have done that on both counts. It is not
Which
your
is
concern.
exactly what we thought for Danielle, that he should answer to the person
What
he
I am
wronged.
concerned.
So you understand Ashley and why she's so passionate about this. Stacey, your thoughts on his side, saying, look, I did my time. I should have the right to live where I want.
Look, I've been prosecuting these cases close to 30 years, and that's the argument that we hear all the time. These predator and offender laws were put in place for a specific reason, and that is so the community and society knows where these offenders live. Many times I've been on many shows for several years, and we see these recidivism, we see them come back again. We see that if a person is molested, that it was the person on the sex offender registry. We need these law and orders, and so if you'd want to try to listen to the sex molester, who's the biggest manipulator out there, I mean, these are master manipulators, try to figure out the system, then that's ridiculous. These laws need to be in place, they need to stay in place, and they even need to be cracked down so that something like this doesn't happen again, so that a molester who is fully convicted of molesting a young child doesn't have the right to then afterwards continue to traumatize the person that he already did at one time.
Because Ashley Banfield is right. It's years of depression and help that that person may need. It stays with them and changes them. You have seen that for the rest of their lives.
I see some of these victims, and it's men and women, you know, that are affected. Always. I had a case where a man was molested at 8 years old. He had to come back and testify for me because his offender that offended him years ago was now offending someone else. He was now 32 years old. He came into court and he cried and he said, I can't diaper my child because of what happened to me. This resonates in victims for years and years and years. He didn't even want to come in the courtroom and face the man from years ago. And here's a young lady that has to live next door to the person that's molesting her. So I applaud her. I hope she is able to make some kind of change in her state, and I hope states do follow suit.
All right, Stacey Honowitz, it forever changes the child, as you said. Thank you so much for your take on this.